Hello, ladies and other people. This is Fred, and this is Q&A with Fred, volume 19. I'm sorry for the slight delay. I should have uploaded this video on Tuesday, but I couldn't record anything on Tuesday. I was busy with other things, and on Wednesday I felt a little bit sick. But I'm better now on this Thursday, so we can have a nice little Thursday Q&A. It has been snowing a lot outside, so it's quite bright. Because that's the nice thing about snow during the winter, is that it actually makes things brighter, because snow reflects light. So it's sort of a nice white, very clean light coming in the house. So I'm feeling quite good. I've done some changes to the background in this Q&A. I hope you don't mind. I wanted to make it look a bit better, more focused, and I added a picture of myself in the corner smoking a pipe. I don't actually smoke a pipe in reality, but I like the idea of smoking pipes. I like the imagery of a pipe, and I like the gravitas the pipes give you. So you can imagine me smoking a pipe while talking to you right now. And let's go with the first question. Lisa asked, "It's dark here too. Why does the dark winter depress people?" Because winter depression is a thing, right? Winter depression certainly is a thing, and sometimes it can be quite serious. I think that anyone who has had experiences with depression in their lives, and I can admit that I have had depressions in my life, you do get a different feeling in the winter that is very uncomfortable, because it is so dark and it's cold. And it is the sort of weather we don't like to expose ourselves to. We like to keep indoors as much as we can. And that sort of weather isn't necessarily good for a depressed person. And it can become quite overwhelming. Even, people who are happy and have good lives may feel a bit more moody during the winter times than in summer. And I mean, it's quite obvious, because you know that any culture with harsh winters tend to be very glad when summers come around. Tend to have holidays and celebrations when summer comes around, and that's why we have midsummer celebrations in Scandinavia. I honestly think that this comes down to a desire amongst humans to hibernate over the winter. Any mammal that lives in harsh climates do tend to sleep throughout the winter that is the harshest. I slightly joked about it last time. I mentioned dormice sleeping their entire lives away, and I got a bit of correspondence from dormices complaining that I was offending them, and it wasn't meant as a critical statement about dormice. It was meant simply as a reference to their unique sleeping patterns. So if you are a dormouse and you are listening to this, and if you feel a little bit offended, it wasn't my intention. But when winter comes along, I mean, almost everyone feels more sleepy and weary than usual. And that's sort of why we need Christmas with red colors and all that, in order to feel more warm and happy. But of course the problem is that after Christmas have come and gone, we're back to the same old miserable winter. Anonymous asked, "Why are all the questions you get here so terrible?" Oh, but don't say that. That's dreadful. I mean, I get lovely correspondence from all of you. I do get most of my questions on Tumblr, so they tend to be quite focused on cats and sex. I don't know why, but apparently that's what fascinates most people on Tumblr. It's either cats or sex. Luckily not cats and sex in the same time, but the reason why I don't necessarily talk about cats, and I don't bring up the cat questions I get, is because I don't like cats, really. Occasionally I will like an individual cat, but not cat kind overall. I don't mind offending you if you're a cat. I don't like dogs either. I mean, I grew up with rabbits, and I still have a rabbit. I have a rabbit upstairs right now whose name is Garbo, named after Greta Garbo, because she looks so similar to the Swedish actress. Anonymous asked, "Why are you so awesome?" I'll assume you mean awesome as in the traditional definition of extremely impressive or daunting, inspiring great admiration, apprehension, or fear, rather than the more modern definition of simply good or very good. That's boring. I quite like the idea of being daunting, and also a bit frightening. I like the idea of being good to the point of frightening people. And actually, honestly, actually think I do frighten some people. I assume that a lot of you listening to this self-identify as nerds, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm sure you're very proud of that facet of your personality. I've tried to be a nerd, but I can't because I'm not interested in Star Trek enough, or fantasy, or anything like that. I tend to lose interest in that. But I have tried to socialize with nerds in the past, and the problem is that I'm very outgoing. Not necessarily emotionally outgoing, I'm quite reserved in that regard, but I tend to be very verbal, and I tend to use a lot of words per second. I am very verbose. And nerds aren't. Nerds tend to be very quiet. They sit around playing D&D, and they talk very carefully and slowly like this. And then I burst in, speaking very confidently and loudly and fast, and it scares all these poor little nerds to death. So in that regard, I am frightening. One of my lovely German groupies asks, "I love the way you words like Germany. I just think it's so cute how you pronounce the G like a Y." För i helvete! Jävla kaninjävel som håller på att göra massa ljud. Sorry about that. The rabbit I mentioned earlier is making some noise in its cage. Actually, it was more than just noise. The rabbit had escaped its cage, so I had to run around trying to capture the rabbit. Anyway, let's get back on track. This is one of the more pronounced Swinglish elements of my accent. The thing is, in Sweden we pronounce J and occasionally G as Y, which means that, for example, when I say the word Jaffa, I always feel inclined to say Jaffa, which has made people mock me in the past for saying that, and of course it made me feel very bad and self-conscious. The rabbits are still making fucking noise. You may not be able to hear that, but I'm getting very annoyed. Anyway, so it's one of the more Swedish elements of my accent. There is a few others accent. I can't focus now. Okay, goodbye. This is enough for QnA Volume 19. I need to apparently pay attention to the rabbits. They're craving my attention. See you next week for an Advent special.